Hey, beautiful people. How are we doing? I am Anitra N. Lawson, storyteller, producer, educator, content creator. He is Dr. Andre Eugene Evans.
What's going on, good people?
You have to say it slow like that. He's a father, a pastor, theologian, author, storyteller, and the brother that I never wanted. Haven't said that in a while. And we are the Savage Siblings. This is the Savage Sibling Podcast, where we are brutally honest, relentlessly transparent, and unapologetically authentic. So glad you guys are rocking with us for another episode. Bro, how you doing?
I'm doing well, can't complain. You know, here track season has started. We're back in full swing, and so I'm back out there coaching. And it's always a joy. One of the joys I have as being a track coach, and I'm specifically with the sprinters, those moments where I get to see the incoming freshmen, and you know they don't know who I am, and you know within that first week my reputation has not preceded me, so they have no idea what they're in for. But then there's also that diamond in the rough, that one freshman that comes in that's just a beast. And I get so excited because then I get to look at the upperclassmen who are on my relay teams. I get to tell them, if you don't get faster, you're getting replaced. And so it's just the joy that comes with just how my team progresses year to year. These are the great joys of being a track coach. It's breaking hearts and yet still somewhat breaking hearts, breaking minds, breaking thought processes, bruising egos. I love the kids. I love the kids.
This is why you're going to get an email and a text that we are releasing you from the unpaid position of track.
From the voluntary position.
Track coach.
I love the kids. I love it. I'm teaching life lessons out here.
I thought they were crying because they were sad. No, they're crying because they're stretching.
I'm teaching life lessons.
They're crying because you beat them up.
I'm teaching life lessons. That's right. That is it.
God.
So yeah, that is. I've been on cloud nine all week long for that very reason. But anyways, what's good with you? What's going on?
Just this week has been about second wins. I've just been depending on God for a second win. So every time I feel like I'm getting tired, I'm just like, okay, what's it going to be? Whether it's I go take a walk, or I go and listen to, one of my favorite podcasts, or if I go and, just get in the car and go for a drive, or talk to a friend. And each time I come back rejuvenated. So this has been a good week for the second win, pushing us through each and every day. So I'm grateful to God for that. So yeah, it's all good. So, all right, well, let's jump into the sound off segment.
Sound off segment. Sound off.
No doubt. So we're entitling this episode "Keep It Moving." Keep it moving, and what we're looking at is just kind of just how does your family evolve, right? How does your family make progress from one decade to another, from one season to another? Is your family stuck in the 70s, or has your family progressed? But there's a very interesting perspective outlook on that. And I think as you're going to see this particular episode, really the conversation, it doesn't necessarily favor, but it finds itself probably in the older sibling more so than the younger sibling, because there are definitely some things that, I experienced in our home that you got to experience differently. And a lot of times for me, it was better. You had the better experience simply because, from somewhere along the lines, from me to you, like the family made some type of progress. And so you got advantages that I didn't get. You got these areas that, helped you navigate through, adolescence at a pace and in a way that I didn't get. So I may have come out with bumps and bruises. You came out like shining like diamonds. You came out just, favored. Like you came out like the Lord parted the clouds and like, this is my daughter in whom I'm well pleased.
Came from heaven.
Right. So there's but there are a lot of impacts that can have. And they're psychological, they're emotional, they're behavioral impacts. that then definitely can translate into who we are as adults. So that notion or that thought of keeping it moving is, do you
Mm.
get stuck in a moment of jealousy and therefore stunting yourself because you didn't get life as good as your younger sibling? And then what does that impact
Mm-hmm.
as an
Mm-hmm.
adult? Because, there are times where as an adult where if you're stunted in jealousy because they're
Right.
getting
Right.
something you don't get, you actually cap your ability
Mm.
to go higher in life. And it doesn't matter whether it's on the job or in future relationships. Like, all of these things are capped or impacted when you don't realize that evolution, even from a family or relationship
Yeah.
perspective, that's good.
Yeah.
Change is good. New technology
Right.
is good. New ways,
Mm-hmm.
innovative thinking, it's good. Creative mindsets that can either shorten a process or make a process easier,
Mm-hmm.
streamline process. All that's good. Bad is saying, "Oh, I ain't
Right.
have to do
Could
it
have been
that way.
different.
Well, I ain't get to do
Right.
it that
Right.
way, right? Like why you
Right.
get all this? Why didn't I get all that?
Mm-hmm.
That stunts." And so one of the things that as we were talking about this, definitely from the sibling perspective, one of the moments I remember in life, just a backdrop. I played
Right.
quite a few sports, whether it was at the rec center or whether it was in the
Mm-hmm.
at high school. And so, basketball freshman year,
Mm-hmm.
football, basketball, football, track were my main
Mm-hmm.
sports. And, I remember going all the way until the first meet of my senior year. That's the first time mom and dad came and saw me participate in sport.
Really?
That's the first time. Matter of
I
fact,
feel like we went. Oh man, we didn't go to
the
any.
first no, y'all came to none.
They didn't go to any.
None. No, they came to none. Absolutely none. And yeah, no, I had track meet. I had to listen. I had to find my own way to track meets. I had
Right.
to,
Right. No,
I
that's
had to
real.
find
No,
my
that's
own way
real.
back to track meet.
Yep.
Every sport I played. Nope, it wasn't until my senior
Extracurricular.
year, the first track meet, which is in the spring. So they missed all my fall sports, all my winter sports. And I did indoor track. Matter of fact.
I didn't
I
even
had
know.
second place medal in the Junior Olympics in the 4x1.
I never knew that. Number one.
I got those. I have those medals right
Where
now.
is that medal?
I have 4 medals from the Junior Olympics. I share them with my kids because I want them to know I am there for them. I will never miss anything.
And you wear
I've
your
got
medals
'em
to
right
their
now.
track meets,
I
right?
wear listen in my old Wichita Southeast varsity leather jacket. Shout out to Wichita Southeast. I wear it all because I need them to know that I'm there. Because
The
my
glory days.
experience was that my family never showed up
I don't
until
remember
my
that.
senior
We came
year.
to some.
Y'all came. The fact that you don't remember it ought to be
Right.
an indication.
But I
Ought to
thought
be
that
your
was just
biggest
me. I'm the younger
indication.
sibling. I figured
No,
their
no.
parents
See,
went.
that's the thing. That's the thing. How many things did they go to of yours, Nikki?
Yeah, I remember mom going to almost everything of mine. Now,
Wait,
Dad,
stop.
everything. Yes,
What? Remember
everything.
yeah. Say
But
that one
like
more time. How many of them?
95%.
How many of
Mom,
them?
about 95% of all my
Oh,
activities.
so you got one parent. How many parents I get?
No, I got two. Now, Dad didn't.
Exactly.
He hit the important ones. He hit the
Come
important.
Come on.
The major
Come
events.
on. Dad has seen me run one lap around the track one time in my entire life.
He got it.
Mom,
he saw it and was like, "That's it. I got you, son." I see
right,
it.
and
It's amazing.
Same thing with mom. Same thing with mom. Same thing with mom. And so it was one of those moments where I'm like, well, wait a second. How come y'all never came to see me, but y'all don't miss nothing Nikki does? But here's the thing. Here's the thing. Well, I'm sure you have what you think is the reason why. The reason why I've had to accept in my heart and my psychology is this. There is a moment where I'm realizing when I'm coming up, where mom and dad had to work multiple jobs. Like mom had to teach and then work at a department store.
Right.
Dad had to work extra hours just simply be able to hold the titles that he had. He had to go do contract work out of the state.
Yeah. Right.
So there's this moment where mom and dad are saying, I'm sorry, we got to put in extra just so the family can make it.
Yep.
So then when Nikki comes along in high school, there's not as much need, probably because I'm no longer in the house and I'm fending my own way. So there's less money going out, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so since there's less money going out and less things that mom and dad are responsible for, there's less work overtime that they have to do. So I could have looked at that and simply said they didn't like me, which is I think you think is the reason, versus I'm just saying that no, the family has progressed. How has it
Right.
progressed? Andre made it to college, right? That's evolution, that's progression. Andre made it to college. So now, we can have more time
Mm-hmm.
to do some of the things that we wanted to do with Andre. We just couldn't
Couldn't do
because
it. Yeah.
we had to make things work. So part of this evolution process for me was they couldn't make it, but the family's still progressing. Parents are evolving as parents. I'm evolving, as a child, as a brother,
Mm-hmm.
as a
Mm-hmm.
son. I'm evolving. Progression of the family as a whole definitely allowed them to do more, definitely allowed them to be more involved. And
Yeah.
what's interesting, and then I'll kick it to you in just a
Mm-hmm.
second, is not everybody, not every older sibling has approached the progression or the evolution of a family the way I did. And
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you, it's not until I'm an adult where I can look back and say, I see why they
See
had
it
to do
now.
it.
Yeah.
And the reason why, and when I say an adult, I'm talking about with Daniela, my oldest daughter, Corinne,
Sure.
my middle daughter,
Yeah.
Corey, my youngest daughter, because with Daniela, I didn't have a lot of time because I really wasn't even able to be in the same city as her, the same
Right.
state as
Right.
her.
Right.
And with Corinne, I had great time, but with Corey, I got all the time.
That's good.
That
Mm-hmm.
doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
I like Corey the most. It means the family has progressed. Daniela's
Mm-hmm.
making it as an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Corinne is now in college. Corey's
Right.
the last one. So I just naturally have more time. But
Yeah.
if either one of them, any of them, took that the wrong way, it definitely would have stunted our relationship, parent
Right.
child, and it
Right.
would have stunted the sibling relationship. And
Right.
then that starts to impact adult relationships
Yep.
because so much of our fundamental understanding of how relationships evolve, love evolves, hurt evolves, anger evolves. So
Mm-hmm.
much of that is
Mm-hmm.
played out right there in that sibling relationship, that sibling role, that child parent relationship with siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So much is played out there that if it doesn't get the right foundation, it can turn to jealousy. It can turn to
Absolutely.
not just envy. It can turn to hurt, and all of that kind of just stunts our ability to keep it moving when it comes to deepening relationships and improving who we are, giving our best self. We're too busy saying, "Well, they had it better.
Yeah.
They had it
Mm-hmm.
easier." So does that mean you give
Wrong
up?
focus. Yeah.
Does that mean you don't even try? And think about how many siblings you have interacted with that's kind of where
Feel
they
that. It's
are.
exactly where they are.
That's
Yep.
exactly where they
100%.
are.
Mm-hmm.
And how does that impact their vocation? How does that impact their vision, their hopes, their dreams, their wishes? How does that impact their ability to move higher and do better in the future? So, anyways, that's kind of that foundation of our episode. Keep it moving is
Mm-hmm.
evolution. So, anyways, I'm gonna kick it to you now, and let me hear you sound off for this thought.
Yeah, it's great because there's so many differences when you're the younger sibling, and especially if you're the baby. And so in my case, it's just Bro and I, and I'm the baby. So I can't wait to hear some of the feedback from our listeners in terms of how you feel on this. But I you know I knew that we were blessed growing up, and that part of it speaks to, like you said, that keep it moving progression and evolution in
Yeah.
our home. So
Mm-hmm.
I understood that we were doing good, and I think sometimes when you're the younger sibling, we can be more self-centered, right? Because we
Oh yeah.
know that basic. I don't even want to say the trickle down effect, but you understand that everything that's in the home, you are privy to it. You have access to it, whether it's food, whether it's technology, whatever
Right.
the case is.
Right.
You can always get a part of it. You know that the family's going to make sure that you're taken care of, and so I definitely had a different experience. We already mentioned that, mom came to, almost all of my events, and along the lines of
Mm-hmm.
what you already said about Corey, my youngest niece, that her time was just different then. You already mentioned that the way our parents worked in that regard. But how I think I really processed this notion of evolution is I remember partaking in the best of what was ever there that you had, and then being partaking in the next big thing once you were gone. So I think about it like we had, and this is going to date, Dre and I, but we had one of those really nice high-end electric typewriters, the kind that, it could go fast, and you could get going with your home row keys, and it had the automatic eraser and all this. And so you didn't have to stop and get the white out. And this was perfect because I was able to write my papers on it. And then as soon as Dre leaves to go to college, so does the electric typewriter. And I remember being frustrated, like, well, why does it have to go with him? But then like a week later, we got our first computer. And I was like, let's go, upgrade, right? So even if there was a sense of kind of why, it was very short-lived. I think the same thing with our mom. And in the cars, like she always made a point to make sure that she gave her children what she had. And so, Dre, when you left to go to college, like you already said, mom was like a Wichita, Kansas, middle school teacher. That was a salary she's working on. Which
that was a salary.
Is saying a lot. It's saying, you guys know public education. And then she worked at Sears department store in the evenings. And our dad, was putting his hours as an engineer and doing what he had to do. So the car that she had at that time was, I don't even know what it's called, bro. We called it the Banana, but it was like a yellow.
It was a Plymouth Sapporo.
There we go.
Sapporo.
Sapporo, right? We'll make sure we add a picture for this one, but old school car. And that was all mom had, right? And so when it was time for Dre to go to college, she said, okay, here, take this. This is all I can give you. I'm not in a financial position to give you something more. And so then fast forward 4 years later, when it's time for me to go off to college, by this time, mom had now elevated to and been promoted to an administrator. She was like running like 2 elementary schools and 2 prominent elementary schools in Kansas. So she didn't, need to work an additional second job. She's doing great. Dad is obviously progressed in his job. So of course their finances are different.
They're
and
different.
So this is what's interesting with mom. Like all of her life, she always, every car that she had, either her dad bought it for her, which I forget what grandpa bought for her, but he got her first car, and then our dad got mom the Banana. And so at the first time that she gets to the car that she gave me, this is the first time in her entire life where she has ever been able to buy and choose her own car. And so that's why it's so different when she goes from these, the different type of cars that the men in her life gave her to when she picks. And so she goes for a red Saturn coupe that kind of looks like a sports car.
Yeah.
But for her, this is kind of like, hey, I'm picking in hot cotton now. I've gotten to a certain status, in my, in my professional career. And so this is the car that she gives me. So when you compare the two, the Banana that was on its last leg, and I think it died as soon as it got to Florida.
It died as soon as it got to Tallahassee. It died.
It was like, I'm good. I got you here. I
Yeah.
did my job, right?
Right.
And then her Saturn, which was, still pretty new, it just had to do with, again, where she had progressed to, but she still had the same pattern of, I'm going to give you, I can't get you another car. I can't buy a new one for you, but I'm going to give you what I have. And so those two cars are very different. And so again, it's like that typewriter to the computer, the Banana to the, red wine. I called her the dope ride. There's an upgrade there. And I remember thinking, man, this is amazing. And even down to parent loans. I remember because I was talking to mom about this particular episode. And I said, well, mom, you took out a parent loan for me while I was considered an out-of-state student in Florida coming from Kansas. And I was like, she's like, yeah, I did. And I was like, well, did you do that for Andre? Now, let me just tell y'all about this one on the other side here. This is my brother. My parents said we absolutely did not take out a parent loan for your brother because he had already proven to us and shown us his first year in junior college that he wasn't going to do right by his grades. He was going to be spending more time partying. And so they were like, nope, he done flunked out of this junior college. He got to figure it out on his own. So she was like, that's why. See, he said good times. So that's why mom was like, I will take a loan out for Nikki because Nikki's going to take care of business and get everything done. So she also helped me in that first year and paid off that loan. But what she did say she did is years later when Andre was launched his first business, at this point, he's a little bit more mature, I guess, or a little bit more grounded. And so she was happy to take out a loan to partner. Questionable. Was happy to partner with him at that point. And she even said, I was able to do this for your sister. I'd like to do this for you now. And this makes more sense. Plus, remember at that point, Brobo, she had moved back to Ohio.
Right.
She's back with her parents, so all of her living expenses have changed. Right. She's at a higher paying job, because she's now even elevated more. And so all of her finances are revamped and she's doing very well. And so she was able to contribute in that way. And so it is evolution. And I think from just the last thing I'll say, and then we'll jump into our sponsorship. But I think from the perspective of the younger sibling, is that for us, we often do get so much of whatever is good. Ideally, in a healthy situation, whatever is good in the home, we're already enjoying that. And I think the thing that we do that's similar to the older sibling experience, but slightly modified, is that we start to look outside. So our comparisons are less about, what did the older or the middle sibling get compared to the younger one? We're actually starting to look at other families and go, So I just remember thinking, we have this, amazing townhome, but why don't we have a house?
Right.
We have, we have all these things in terms of the technology and the gifts and the toys, but we're not doing big family gatherings the way that this family is. And I think that becomes our space because there's always something to be said for this notion of evolution and keeping it moving. You're going to compare, which, we can unpack the pros and cons of comparison, but I think we all do it. And I think the younger siblings, we start to find other ways to do it if we've been in a really blessed situation like I was. So
what's so interesting to that, just before you go to the sponsorship, and it's very true, I co-sign everything you're saying, the younger sibling can typically get all the yeses because the younger sibling didn't have to go through the roots. It was not easy for mom and dad to say, no, I've got to 100%.
Assume. No, it wasn't. No. That's why she thought about it years later,
Right, exactly. And she wasn't the only one, dad. Right now, I'm 48 years old. Dad still sends Christmas money. That's guilt.
100%.
That's guilt. that's that. I ain't paying for your
guilt.
college education.
Daddy, that is not guilt. You send me his then. If they try to come for you, send me his.
I don't care what y'all say. I know everything. And listen, don't get me wrong. I will walk straight to the bank and cash that guilt.
100%.
But still,
that ain't guilt, pops. I got you there.
That's roots. That's root money. That's what that is. That's root money. There's some stuff I had to go through in them evolving into parents and digging roots into parenthood that you didn't have to go through.
Yeah.
You didn't have to go through. That's why some of the lessons of evolution you learned from a younger age than I did.
Yeah,
you learned with more efficacy than I did. Because they were still saying, okay, let me see what happens if I do this.
If I do this, right? Testing the waters.
Let me see what happens if I choke him. Let me see what happens if I whoop him. Let me see what happens if I ask him to go pick his own switch. Let me see
what happens if he doesn't eat dinner tonight. He goes to bed hungry. See how that works.
All of that's how evolution works. Let me try this. And if it works, we progress. We call it evolution. If it don't work, that's Andre. He's just ignorant. He just can't be trained.
Praying for him.
He can't be taught. Right. I'm just going to say no. So, all of that is evolution. Did you ever have to go pick your own switch?
I didn't. I never got whooped with the switch. I never got a spanking with the switch.
You need to thank
but I was
evolution.
well behaved. That's the
life of God. You need to thank evolution.
Well behaved.
You need to thank evolution for what you didn't have to go through.
Evolution, aka Andre Evans.
Every time you walk past a shrub or a small tree, you need to thank evolution. You need to thank evolution for that. Right.
Twitching.
I'll tell you now. Every time you walk past a belt that's meant for a man with a waist of 34, you need to thank evolution. You need to thank evolution. You never had to feel that belt. Yeah, I listen. Listen. That's evolution. I told y'all this episode was about older siblings.
Clearly. Let him just
Right.
get it all out. He's not bitter.
And with that, let me let you get into these sponsorships with that.
Speaking of evolution, our sponsorship for this podcast is S2 Mediaworks. It's a media production company co-founded by my brother and I, and we are dedicated to creating content that educates, that empowers, that inspires, and that encourages positive living. And we do that through original narratives. Our mission in S2 Mediaworks is to provide transformational education and resources for healthy, productive lives, and we love to do that on the bedrock of creative storytelling. We're creating life-changing, life-giving content in all that we do, and this podcast, the Savage Siblings Podcast, is a product of the slate and the plans and the vision of S2 Mediaworks, and as always, we are so glad that you guys are here and listening. Thank you so much for rocking with us. All right, bro, you ready to get savage?
Absolutely. Let's go ahead and get savage. So again, the name of this episode is Keep It Moving. And we're talking about recognizing life progress and evolving, or family progress and evolving, and how that really impacts us as an adult, and the ability to see progression, or just kind of building deeper, more bonding, more binding relationships that last longer. I think there are a whole lot of us as adults who weren't able to recognize the power, the efficacy of just evolving as a family, that many of our relationships are suffering right now. So if you think about some of the best relationships you've had, they took time.
Yeah.
And they had to
that's
make
good.
progress. And you had to make progress. And you had to allow others to make progress. And you had to accept and appreciate that progress. And then there are those relationships that you didn't give time. You didn't like something, and you just, for whatever reason, walked away from it, ended it, cut out on it.
Yeah.
And it's not always just a relationship with other people. Sometimes it's a relationship with society, relationship with this world, or a relationship with yourself.
Right.
And so there are a lot of areas of evolution, evolving, that we want to make sure that we kind of hit on today and talk about. So yeah, keep it moving. I think where we kind of want to start, though, Nikki, is just this ability to really kind of recognize how life in and of itself progresses. So much of my ability to, see a deepening relationship, because I've not always gotten it right. There are a lot of relationships
sure.
I walked out on too soon. And I'm not just talking intimate relationships. I'm talking whether it was business relationships or personal, in terms of just friendships, right? Relationships in society or socially. There have been times where I didn't like one thing. One thing just rubbed me the wrong way.
You're like, I'm good.
And if I'm honest, there's some things that I just say, well, man, I'm, and this is my ego talking, I'm more educated. How come I don't have that? I'm more, I'm more, and here, air quotes here, progressed in life. How come I'm not that far? Knowing that full well that, if I didn't have the jealousy, if I didn't have the envy, if I didn't have that perspective, I might actually be able to establish a connection with someone who's where I want to be, regardless of their age, regardless of their skin color, regardless of their gender, regardless of all of that. I could have made a connection of one of learning. I've met people in life that are able just to push past all of those knee-jerk reactions and say, it might hurt, I'm not as far as I am, but I still want to be connected, so maybe I can learn how to get there. Right? Good. And so that starts with just kind of this recognition of how life evolves, how family evolves, how all of these things evolve. And so what I recognize, and some of this is just through the academia I learned, even my first year of college that I failed out of, but I still retained information. What I learned is, I did. I'd like to think I did. I kept some stuff, like, it's a whole, now granted, it's a whole lot of, I ain't gonna do that again. Like, there's a whole lot of that, but that's still learning.
Learning how to party well. Learning how to drink without passing out.
No, I learned how to cut off the drinking so I can still take the exam the next day. I learned how to cut off the partying at a certain time so I could still take the exam the
3:57.
next day. So when my clock went off, I'll be like, all right, y'all, gotta go.
That's time management. I love it.
That's it. That's what I learned. I fail forward. I don't fail back. I always fail forward. And I had to listen. Y'all hate on me all you want to. I fail forward. I learned.
That's right.
So anyway,
Get better with age.
So anyways, when we're thinking of being able to accept that life is always going to move forward, and if you don't adapt to keep up, you get lost in both the struggle and you get lost in the obscurity of staying in the past. Many of those foundational mindsets, those foundational behaviors, those foundational emotional balance, if you will, that starts with just kind of the relationships with family. It really does, because the family the world's going to keep moving. The family has to keep moving.
Right.
You can't hold the family back because you refuse to move with its progress. Because you're jealous. Because you hurt, because you upset. It wasn't that easy for you. And to me, that's a crazy notion in and of itself.
Right.
Because okay, so it wasn't that easy for you. Do you want the whole family to struggle? Does the whole family have to go back?
Stay like this.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Does the whole family have to go back because you had to eat, this meal with a broken napkin, and now all of a sudden your sister gets a paper, gets a nice little napkin cloth. So what? We got to go back because you upset. You hold the whole family back. But the fact of the matter is, relationships, with your family, they are at the heart of who you are as a human being and the way you progress in life.
Yep.
Because think about it, when you're an infant, you are completely dependent on your family to survive.
Right.
You don't hold back your family when you're an infant. When I was an infant, we lived in a trailer park, right?
Come on.
But that came with a certain lifestyle.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And when I look at all the pictures I had as an infant, I look completely different than when I was an adolescent, and now we're in a townhome.
That part, yeah.
Right? But one thing is certain. I needed my family. I depended on my family to progress. But not just that. When I look at the pictures that I have as an infant, you could tell we were in a trailer park. You could tell we were in a trailer park, right? But watch this. When I look at the pictures as an adolescent when we're in a townhome, guess what also I can tell? I can tell we had evolved, but not just that. I can tell that I made sure Nikki evolved and didn't have to look like a trailer park while we're in a townhome. And make sure I make no mistake about what I'm saying. I do not believe townhome is better than a trailer park.
Right.
I believe there's a life progression that we had. And I'm saying to my sister, hey, the restrictions and limitations that came from me when I was your age, you don't have to have. You don't need to live by. I've learned that I've been able to expand my restrictions, expand the boundaries that I can get more now. So why am I going to say to you, no, you need to live under the restrictions I had when I was growing up your age? So it's not the financial or the monetary existence. It's the capacity for more.
For more. That's good.
That comes with evolution, that if I'm jealous and I now try to block someone who I'm jealous of from getting the expanded capacity, then I'm holding back evolution.
Yep.
I'm holding back everything, and I'm holding back everything I'm connected to.
Myself included, yeah.
Myself included.
Yeah.
Because what I'm realizing there is that, these formative years, we're dependent upon our parents. So their capacity becomes my capacity.
Our capacity, yep.
But at some point, there's a point where I've got to leave the home. And I've got to be able to create then my own sense of progression. Am I getting better than what I was when I was a child? Or am I stuck in that it was harder for me, so since it's harder for me to make it, I'm just going to arrest my development some way?
Yeah.
Because at some point when you leave the family dynamic and and now you have to develop your own capacity for progression, your
Right.
foundation is your best, is where you're going to start. So if I'm already got this you had it easier than me mentality,
Skewed perspective. Yeah.
that's where I'm starting from.
Yeah.
And what grows out of that soil? What grows out of that
Yeah.
mental soil, that emotional soil, that behavioral soil? So our family dynamic, our family foundation, it really is the start of our ability to progress, our ability to have some form of evolution or progress in life. But so for me, that's kind of how we recognize how progression starts, how life starts to progress. Did I come away from my home now into adulthood saying to myself, these kids have it easy, or life was
Right.
easier for these, and I'm not happy that, because if it's easier for you, it's easier for me. I'm not happy. It wasn't like when I came home for the summer and didn't bring that, highfalutin typewriter and I saw the
Right.
computer. It wasn't like I was banned from using the
Right.
computer.
Right.
But we'll emotionally ban ourselves from progression
Sure,
because we
sure.
expect those following to have it as hard as we had it. You
Yeah.
crazy? I'm not going to ban myself from what's
Right.
freely available. In fact, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Corinne Corey and said, how you work this? Right?
Right. Right.
How you work this? Like, how this thing work? Teach me how this thing work.
How to
Why?
make this
Because
work.
what I'm not finna do is say, oh, y'all got it easy with this and that. And what am I going to do? Stuck? Am I going to stay stuck with a typewriter?
Right. No. Gotta move forward.
Not when I can hit that microphone button and it just types what I say.
That
Are
part.
you kidding me? I ain't finna stay stuck.
Come on. It's a great
Hating and
example.
envious. Yeah, y'all got it so easy. All you got to do is hit this button, say what you want, and it'll not only type what you say, but it'll autocorrect it. Y'all got
That
to say,
part.
are you kidding me? You kidding me? So recognizing how life
Yeah.
progresses is the start of being able to evolve deeper in everything, in all of our relationships, in life, in our dreams, hopes. So anyway, so for me, that's kind of where it starts in terms of recognizing how life progresses.
That's
What
good.
about for you?
That's excellent. And I love the notion of the skewed perspectives on, progress and evolution and how that can start at home. I think for us, the key things that stood out to me when I started trying to understand progress and what it looked like in the Evans family and how I then understand it beyond, the family into life was I had to quickly get a sense of that evolution goes beyond materialism, because I think, as you
Yeah.
already pointed out, that it's easy to initially pay attention to, okay, we're progressing because we have more, because we went
Right.
from the trailer home to the town home, the
Right.
house, whatever those things are. And for what I started recognizing, again, I do think this can be specific to the younger siblings if they're already comparing to other families, but I put more value or connection to what do these materialistic things seed into our home, into our family, into our relationships.
right.
And so it started with materialism, but then I started paying attention to, well, what does that mean for dad, for mom, for Andre, for Nikki, in terms of how we relate to each other. So one of the things that hit me is one of the best Christmas that I still to this day ever had outside of becoming a mom was the Christmas, Dre, that dad and mom, I think they both got bonus checks or something at their
Sure.
job that year, and they bought us we had so many presents
Oh,
that
I
year.
remember,
Just, I
yes.
mean,
Yeah.
spilling into the hallway, just everywhere. And that was already just kind of a mind-blowing space, because we also knew that a lot of our friends probably wouldn't have that.
Sure.
We knew we were blessed in that regard, but it wasn't so much the gifts that I
Right.
remember. What I remember is, and this is,
Yep.
these are toys that they don't make anymore, but our dad had purchased us these actual, they actually felt like military replica type water
Yeah,
guns.
water guns,
Like
yep.
if you had these now, you'd get hurt.
Yeah,
Like
it's not
you
a good-
they
not a
don't
good
think
idea
they
to
even
have
make
them.
them anymore. They didn't have the little orange tip on them, nothing.
No.
And they all were battery operated. So this was some real water gun
Yeah.
attack
Yeah.
mode. And we had
Yeah.
like 4 or 5 of them. He had bought like a
Uh-huh.
Uzi type one.
There
So
was a
shout out
Uzi,
to
there
our
was
dad.
an AK, there was an
So bad.
AR-15, and then there was a
So
handgun.
So
Yeah,
bad on so many levels, you guys. guys, please forgive us. So you guys are like, and this is your favorite Christmas? Like, y'all got some other dysfunction happening. But what I remember about that Christmas was not, it was just the fact that Dad then decided for that day, we all were
Yeah.
going to play together.
We finna
So
play.
he got the
Yeah.
guns, Dre got the gun, I had mine, and our mom, and we were inside running up and down every
Yeah.
floor. It didn't matter
Yeah.
about the curtains. It didn't matter about anything.
Nothing.
And that memory stands out. And so while I've learned that, it's always a blessing when you can buy these kind of things that you enjoy, these materialistic things. For me, when I started thinking about what I recognize in life progression is that I never want the financial increase or
Right.
improvements or the financial resources to ever trump the traditions and the family values.
Correct.
They
Yeah,
should
absolutely.
work tandem, or they should elevate even the traditions and the family values. And so I wanted more Christmases like that, but that's really the only one we ever had that I remember.
Like that.
And so that set a standard for me. I wanted, well, we have all this nice stuff, but do we ever eat dinner together? Well, no, because
Right.
our parents are grinding. And yes, they're getting paid
Worked
wonderful,
and
but they're going to
worked
show up
with
more
the
like
grinding.
at 7 p.m. And when they
Right.
show up, they're mentally zapped, right? So no,
Right.
we're all going to take our food. We're going to have food. We're going to be good on food, but we're going to go to our separate spaces and decompress. We don't have the emotional capacity, as you just talked about, to give each other in that space. And so I started looking at that. So for me, I always wanted to keep in the forefront of my mind that evolution progress has to go beyond materialism.
It absolutely
And if
does.
nothing else, it should really be the focus foundation in terms of, as I evolve, as I progress as a family, as an individual, whatever the case is, it should then be a healthy determinant, a healthy dictator to how I spend my time, how I
Absolutely.
spend my money. And I think the opposite typically happens is that in pursuit of materialistic evolution, you often trade in your free time. You trade
Yeah,
in
you
sometimes
do.
your health. You trade in that family connection because you have to kind of now schedule that or compartmentalize those
Sure.
other spaces. And I think that's the danger. So I remember paying attention to that for us because we were blessed. And I'm not complaining on anything that our parents sewed into us financially, but I remember thinking, man, I really wish that we could, have our cake and eat it too, that we could have this, but we could also allow this progressive space in terms of materialism to also really undergird and support and build to the family traditions. And we didn't have it.
But the one of the great foundational approaches to family relationship, society, just being a human being in terms of evolution really does stem from moving beyond the material, because that's not what makes us human. That's
Right.
not what allows us to evolve. That's the results of evolution.
Right.
It moves us
That's good.
into the intangibles, the support that we get, because evolution always requires support. And so, when you're coming up in your home, we can put a stranglehold on that support through envy and jealousy and hurt, because we don't like the way things evolve for someone else versus the way they evolved for us, or what we
Right.
feel like felt not no progress for us. But that's not true.
Right.
Because a lot of time, this is what I was talking about when I say for the older sibling it's about digging roots, for the younger sibling it's about seeing the sprout.
The produce.
That
yeah.
support that you talked about, the emotional support, that's that intangible, has nothing to do with material or financial. It's the social support. That's that
Right.
intangible, has nothing to do with financial or material. But those things, that's as a foundation, is what helps us to breed success as an
Yeah.
adult.
Yeah.
Right? So when we're growing up in this family that's progressing as time progresses, if we don't have the money, our emotional support has to progress.
Right.
If we don't have the money, our social support still has to progress. And the reason why it has to progress is because then when I leave that home and I
Right.
step into these streets as an adult, and now I'm trying something new, because evolution, I try, because the world progresses. I honestly don't know if I'm evolving or eroding
That's
until
good.
I see what's the support I'm familiar with
Yes.
growing up.
Yep.
And it cannot be
A
about
reference.
the money. It
Right.
can't be about, because listen, Corey's in her last year of school with me. If I hit the Mega Million jackpot, Corey's going to know full well that I'm a mega millionaire, not you, Corey.
Right.
So when she leaves, she's not
Right.
accustomed to being
Come
a mega
on.
millionaire.
Yep. Yep.
But don't get me wrong, Corey, while I'm a mega millionaire, if I decide to take myself out to a 5-star Michelin rated restaurant, you can come with me,
That's
right? But when
Right.
you go to college, you can't go to no 5-star Michelin rated. You're going to eat in the cafeteria.
You got budget for that?
But here's what I need you to understand. When I come visit you on your college campus, we're going to eat at your cafeteria. Because I'm
That's
here
good.
to emotionally support you,
That's
socially
good.
support you, and I don't need it depending upon the material of
Economic
life
status. That's
because
good.
I could lose everything tomorrow, but you
That's
still
good.
got to evolve.
That's good.
I need somebody to hear that.
That's
And
good.
you can lose everything tomorrow, but
Right,
the
right.
world's going to keep turning. The world's going to keep progressing, and you can't give up. You
Mm-hmm.
can't get jealous. You can't get hurt because you lost everything and now you ain't got no. You've got what you need. You've got to continue to evolve. Too many times we get in adulthood, and if we didn't get the right support, right?
Mhm.
We didn't get the right evolution or progression of support as from a family dynamic, then we're out here making mistakes and you don't know if
Right.
you do. Yeah, what do you know? I don't know if I'm doing it the right way. I don't know
Right.
why, because I didn't get the right evolutionary support that I needed, the right progressive support that I needed. That right progressive is, yeah, you made a mistake, but I got you. I know that hurt, but I got you. So now as an adult, yeah, I made a mistake, but I still got family. I still got a connection. I still got a
Right.
relationship that's got me. I could still make progress.
Mm-hmm.
I can still recognize the direction that allows me to evolve and evolve and evolve and just
And
keep
evolve, that's good.
progressing. Because too many of us are getting stuck because we look at what we have and, like you said earlier, compare it to others, and we get in that whataboutism. Well, they can make it because they have
Yes.
this. What about me? Oh, they've had all these advantages. What about me? No. You got to still evolve.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. I think the thing we have to recognize is that evolution is both individual and collective. And I think when we get stuck in one of those two silos is typically where we start to see the challenges, where you see maybe jealousy or, a false comparison, things like that
Right.
happening, which then lead to the lack of risk taking or fear, and all of the above. And so you made me think of a great example when I was at a church in Pasadena. And I was just finishing film school. I helped launch the TV broadcast for that church and was able to kind of
Right.
come in, put the plans in, and we were checking out equipment from my school, from other places. We didn't have equipment at
Right.
the church. We didn't have any of the staff positions, things like that. And for years we were grinding. Got to DirecTV, things were good, and then eventually I moved to a different church. And so when I went back to visit, years later, everything was revamped,
Right.
and I remember that there was a sting. I was kind of irritated, right? I was like,
right. Yeah.
And the walls are painted. Y'all got high definition cameras. There's a whole team of people
Right.
switching audio board. And I remember feeling frustrated. So, I was being a little spicy with the pastor and stuff, saying, "Oh, so now you guys listen to my suggestions, and now you guys did this, and now you guys did it." And I was going off, kind of clapping at him, and he was laughing, and he said, "Anitra, you cast a vision."
Come
He said,
on.
"We
Come
caught it."
on.
And so if you get stuck in that silo of it's all about you, then jealousy can creep in. But if, as you already said, you're okay being the guinea pig, you're okay being the person that casts the vision and someone else catches it and runs with it, and you think about it on a larger collective, scale, and think about it as I'm part of a larger ecosystem, and whether I get to see it come to fruition or
Right.
not, my job is sometimes to cast the vision. Sometimes your job
That's
will be
it.
to step in
That's
and,
it.
clean up this. I think about, people used to make fun of those old school knights, right? You could look at their armor and their the armor they'd wear. If it was chinked up and dented and beaten up, you knew they had been in
Yeah.
real legit battle. But the ones that
Right.
had the shiny one, you were like, you ain't been doing nothing.
You're right,
But
you
I'm
ain't
like,
did
well, this is
nothing.
an indication of peacetime, though. So
Right.
maybe the evolution is
Right.
we ain't got to keep fighting, you know?
Right.
So sometimes it is about, let me fight this battle so you don't have
So
to
you
fight
don't
it.
have to.
So
Come
you
on.
can walk around
Come
in your
on.
clean, shiny knight uniform and be like, I'm ready to fight, but I ain't got to. So praise the
Right.
Lord for that. And I think that's where you can chip away at jealousy. It's almost like those, I used to get picked on for being a reformed weed head. A lot of my friends from Kansas know I used to smoke a lot, back in my day. And as soon as I was delivered and got off of that stuff and was, in a better place, your nature sometimes is to be like, let me help everybody else. And so they used to get
Right,
mad,
right.
like, oh my God, here come the reformed
she
weed
come.
head. She finna just be
Right.
ruining everybody's situation up in here. And eventually I had to learn that, evolution is also about giving space for grace in the process too.
Yes.
On either
yes.
side, is that sometimes you're evolving and your family and your loved ones they don't quite see the vision. They're not quite where you are, and you don't want to stunt them and cut them off, right? Because they may get
Right.
there a little bit later, and vice versa. If you're the one that's evolved, don't make people feel bad because they're not there yet. Just say there's
Exactly.
always an open door, and that's what we talk about when the evolution is and you making a mindset for it being for the next generation and to make it better. You will always put space for grace in that because you're already thinking about who's coming next and who's going to need this.
Absolutely.
So let's jump into this transformational perspective because I want to come right back at you with that mindset. Here's this counterpoint when you think about it. Some things should stay the same, right? We always hear that phrase that the only
Right.
thing that's unchanging is change. And
Yeah,
we understand that we're talking about progression, which is change, and evolution, which is change. But listen, I remember the beauty of the old school telephone when people didn't have access to me so easily. And, they would call and have to ask you, is Nikki available? And I like that barrier, right? Like I like this idea. You have to ask me. It was like, and now everyone can see that you looked at the text message, whether or not you had the phone with you.
left me on
FaceTime
red.
shows your
You
face
left me
there.
on red.
You
Why'd
did
you
the
leave
3
me on
dot
red?
dots, and I know that you got your phone with you. It's
Right.
like, man. So there is this counterpoint or this argument that says, well, wait a minute, y'all. You talking evolution, you talking progression, but I want to submit some things should stay the same. So what do you think about that, bro?
So I think, and I'm going to use the example you gave with there's a time where, you picked up the phone and, they couldn't tell if you were home or not. And I could say, no, Nikki's not home. Essentially because the downfall of that is it wasn't until caller ID, I couldn't tell who was calling.
Right.
So a lot of times I'm taking a risk that if I pick up the phone, they want to talk to me. Right? So I'm taking the risk. But see, here's the thing. What we're really saying when we say some things should stay the same, what we're really saying is I want the same results.
There we go. That's good.
I might want a different method. Like I thank God for caller ID
Right.
because I like the results. I don't want everybody to have access to me. Right? So then, like you said, the cell phone comes and people could tell if you just sent them straight to voicemail or if you read their text. And so the method I don't like. Like I don't like that. Like I don't want people to know that I sent them the voicemail. I don't want people to know that I read their text message and I just don't feel like replying. Like I don't want them to know that. So the method is right when you say some things should stay the same. You are right. But what should stay the same are the results. Like we still want the same results. I want the method to change because as technology changes, I want it to work in my behalf. But there's a real advantage for trying for getting the same results, but getting the method to change. I teach ministers and different people in ministry, kind of teach them how to, lead their ministry. And one thing I always say, and I actually, when I used to teach at the seminary, I used to teach, when I teach ministry as a class, one thing I would always say is you can't keep giving an 8-track ministry to an Apple Music generation.
That's good. That's
right?
good.
The result is music. We want music to stay the same, but the method, it's got to evolve. It has to evolve.
Yeah.
It absolutely has to evolve.
Has to evolve, yeah.
And you got to be able to adapt and change with the time so you too can evolve. You can still get the same results. The world evolves. family has to evolve. What we've got to do is we got to kind of get rid of the jealousy, the envy, the negative connotation, the unforgiveness. You got to get rid of those things that are holding your ability to adapt. You got to get rid of those things. The family, the thing about evolution and family and the way the family evolves is if I look at how things were when I was 15 and then turn around and look at how things were when Nikki was 15, I absolutely will get stuck, hurt, and upset.
Right.
But if I look at the results of when I was 15 and the results of when Nikki was 15, I ought not get upset at all. I adapt, right? I adapt.
Yep.
So when we say, things should stay the same, the results should stay the same.
Yeah.
But the method, whether it's a relationship method, a vocation, a job-related vocational method, whether it's a method for vision and dreams and hopes and wishes, the method's got to change with the times. Absolutely, it's got to change with the times. And that kind of leads into just, again, this bottom line. Don't you let progress or evolution be stunted because you're too busy saying, I don't want things to ever change. I understand what change is. The bottom line here is that the family, it's got to progress generationally.
Yep.
There's generational death when we don't evolve. There's death in living when we don't evolve, when we don't continue to make progress. And here's the reason why we've got to keep it moving as a family dynamic. This is the reason why we got to let relationships keep evolving. We got to let the seasons keep evolving. Yourself's got to keep evolving. Because when we look at how we relate to the world, relate to people, relate on our job, society, relate to money, when we look at how we relate to our world, it can either be our strongest ally or our most persistent opponent. And the basis there is all of these relationships we have, how we relate to our world, they're an ally because of evolution. You kept it moving. It's only when we get stunted and hurt, pain, jealousy, envy, strife, that they become that life relationships, how we relate to our world, becomes an opponent. You will actually be living but dead if you don't learn to evolve in the way you relate to this world and everything that's in your world. So for me, that's that bottom line. That's that
beautiful.
You got to keep evolving or die. Evolve
it's
or
like
die.
Keep grow or die.
Or
exactly.
die. Grow or die. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Well, let's jump into our quick shot.
And I'm just gonna let you do the quick shots today. I'm ready for them.
Absolutely. Here we go. So I was building this concept for the quick shot around the mindset of evolved perspectives or mindset versus limited or stunted mindsets, right? So I'm going to present a mindset or a perspective, and I want you to tell me, do you feel like that's a progressive or evolved mindset or way of thinking? Or no, that is stunted or limited. Clearly they have no idea.
Progressive or limited, okay.
Yeah, so a person that thinks this way, do you feel like it's progressive or limited or evolved or stunted?
Okay,
here we go. Laziness is really just selective participation. Evolved or stunted?
Stunted. Absolutely stunted. Absolutely stunted. It is absolutely stunted. There's no evolution in being lazy. In fact, there's de-evolution in being lazy. There's the fish that jumped out of the lake and flopped on land that eventually turned into some type of land animal was like, I got it. I've got to move beyond this space. If a fish which jumps out of water and flops is like, I think I can change and be something on land, the least you can do is get up off the couch and do something to improve your life. No, that's limited. That's absolutely limited.
I think it's involved. I think it's boundary setting, right? You're like, I don't think I want to do that. I think I want you to make my food, right?
Right. Right. Exactly.
All right. Here's another one. Evolved or stunted. Payday loan companies should start providing grants.
Oh, that's evolved. I'd be there today.
No.
That's evolved. Like grants you ain't got to pay back? Like, oh yeah. Are you kidding me? I don't even know how that would work, but that needs to evolve.
It does not work. Say, give me a grant so I can pay back this payday loan that I've had that I paid you back for.
Right.
No, we need payday loan companies to go away. We need people to get out of debt.
That wasn't the option. You gave me the option that they give grants. And that's evolution. That is evolution. Are you kidding me? Yeah.
Oh, that is hilarious. Listen, all those people that own it be like, yeah, let's see some of that coming in. So give me some money so I can pay you guys back what I owe you. That's hilarious.
And payday loan companies are right next to the liquor store. Guess what I'm finna get a grant for? Guess what I'm finna get a grant for? I am applying for a grant for somewhere around $250. I think that's what that Don Julio 1942 cost. I am. Yeah.
And then throw a party so everybody can come have some. That's hilarious. Funded by.
Right.
Oh, it's great. All right, here's another one. Internet scammers should take 3 days off each week to increase their productivity on the work days. Evolved or stunted?
Scammers.
Should not be scammers.
Right. So, but that's not the option you gave me.
Right.
That's not the option. So the option you gave me is should it? Then I'm going to say evolve. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Because
they're more progressive 4-day work week.
Listen. Cause man, that also gives me a 3-day break.
There you go. Now that works.
Right. That gives me a 3-day break.
On the benefit of the scammed.
It's a lot of work for me to call out your scam. Like, you ain't the only one working these phone lines. I'm working them too. You ain't the only one working these phone lines.
It's hilarious. That's a protection for the people that are trying to catch them. Like, okay, we take a break off, so we off Saturday through Tuesday.
Right. I just sat down to dinner. You try to take my money.
Take my money.
Come on, man.
So at least these days will be peaceful. I love it. All right, here's another one. I should hang out with people who are overweight in order to make me look and feel thin. Evolved or stunted?
That's stunted. That's absolutely stunted, man. That's stunted on so many levels. First of all,
it could be inspiration.
That's stunted on so many levels. First of all, just because you're not overweight doesn't mean you healthy. Come on, somebody.
Right. Come on.
Come on, somebody. Come on, somebody. Come on.
You could drop dead of a heart attack.
Right. Just because you talk about, well, I know hanging out with people overweight to make yourself look better. Come on, man. No, that's not it. That means you're going to be too lazy to do what you need to do at the gym, eat how you need to eat, get the proper rest because you think you over here with 2% body fat.
Any weight.
Right. And all the while, you one cheeseburger away from a heart attack and bypass surgery. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I love it. All right, let's just do 2 more. Evolved or stunted? I should drop the negative people in my life, even if the negative person is me.
That's evolved. I'm going to tell you why. There's a whole lot of people I think need to drop themselves.
Right.
I'm telling you. Matter of fact, I'm finna start walking by these people just gonna shout out, evolve, please. Evolve.
Please evolve. Stop talking to you.
Right.
Stop hanging with you.
A whole lot of people that I know
Stop
that need to drop themselves. Absolutely. But no, but also, even beyond that, no, I have evolved several times by dropping people. I've evolved emotionally by dropping some folk, mentally. Yeah. Can I say that one more time?
They're negative.
Right. And that negative energy it can become infectious. It can be cancerous.
Toxic.
That type of virus, right? That type of disease. No, there's some folk I dropped and I literally felt weight lifted off my life.
Yes.
And there's some mindsets within myself I had to drop, and I felt weight lifted off of me. Emotions, I just said I'm not gonna feel this way anymore, and dropped it.
Yes. All right, bro. So what you have for the final blow?
Okay, so for the final blow again, how do we keep evolving? How do we keep progressing? How do we keep life moving in an upward direction? A lot of it is shedding off who you were and accepting the ability to become who you need to be better, because the world keeps turning. And as long as the world keeps turning, the world keeps progressing. Technology is going to keep progressing. Money's going to keep progressing. Opportunities are going to keep presenting themselves, but they're going to require you to be better today than you were yesterday. As long as you've made up in your mind, today I'm going to be better, then today's opportunities will take you further and do more. And all that mindset reminds me of what Paul writes in Ephesians chapter 4, starting at verse 22. And he says, put off your old self, which belongs to your former manner of life, and is corrupt through the deceitful desires, and then be renewed in the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self, created after the likeness of God in true righteousness and holiness. In essence, what Paul is simply saying there is tomorrow's going to require you to be better. So put off, get rid of, stop holding on to, stop thinking about, stop hanging on to feelings and emotions that are keeping you back. That former manner has to go. That whatever that wedge is between you and being a better person has to go. Whatever the wedge is between you and the way you relate to your world has to go. Whatever wedge is between you and the relationships that give you the emotional and social support, the mental support you need to be better, whatever those wedges are, they gotta go. Well, how do they go? Well, put on something that looks more like faith, hope. Put on something that looks more like what you're praying, wishing. Put on more of what looks like where you want to be. You want to be successful? Put on more successful attitude, mindset, emotions, thoughts, relationships. All those things you want to be, put that on, and put it on in the way that you relate to your world, and you will evolve. The world's not going to stop turning just because you've stopped growing. So put on everything you need to put on so you can keep up with the growth. You can keep up with the changes. You can keep up with the evolution. You can keep up with everything that the world is presenting. And it's presenting it fast, so you got to let go of stuff fast. You got to heal fast. And I know that may be putting pressure on some folk, but it's necessary. It's absolutely necessary if you want to grow. So that's my final blow for this episode. Keep it moving, y'all. Keep it moving.
Keep it moving. Well, we come to the end of our episode. As always, we thank you guys so much for joining us. Please help us build the Savage Siblings community. Please like, share, comment, leave a review, subscribe. Send us some information, and definitely send this episode to your favorite Savage sibling. Perhaps you have some evolved or stunted perspective or mentality you want to share with us. Perhaps you struggle with evolution, you struggle with change, and you want to share that as well. We're here to listen and to rock with you. Huge shout out to the amazing team of people that make this possible. Dwayne McClendon and Kyle Davis, our sound editors. Ronnie Maxwell of Maxwell Music, our music producer. Keith Cross of K Cross Photography does all of our amazing photos. Our parents, Gina and Dolores Evans, thank you for the DNA and for all the family fun
Parental
life lessons. And of course, to you, our listeners, we wouldn't be here without you. So glad you're here. Can't wait to see you next time. But remember, don't go through life alone. Take care.
All right, y'all.